Let's talk about career and institution. The goal of this video is to let you know two key information. The first is the requirement of any course or institution that you want to select in your JAMB form. And the second is how competitive is that course of study that you want to go for. And the competitiveness depends on the school. So let's take a look at these two key information. Now I'm going to click on after clicking on the career institution menu, this is where you're going to land. So the menu I want you to pay attention to is the middle menu, which is find schools. So what can we do with this functionality? This functionality allows you to find all the schools offering a particular course that you are interested in. So let's say you're interested in, let me pick a course known as actuary science. And let's say you want to know all the schools offering actuary science. You just click on find schools. I want to do that. All the schools that are offering actuary science will be presented to you. Now, that's one key information you can get. And if you go back, you can select, you can filter by letter. So I can say I want all courses starting with letter E. Then I can decide, I can now pick any of the course starting with letter E. In this case, economics. So once I click find school or schools, I'm going to get all the schools or institution offering that particular course. Now, under each school, you will see that we tell you whether it is a federal school or whether it's a state school. Like in the case of Lagos State University, that's a state school. They will also let you know whether it's also a private school. So, like Bowen University is a private school. So, these are the information we'll let you know. They will also let you know the state where that school is located. So, we'll let you know, okay, this school is located in maybe Kaduna, maybe in Akwa Ibom, maybe in Lagos, or you and so on and so forth. So, then we also give you another information, which is the estimate of the number of people that applied to that school for that year. So let's look at University of Lagos, for instance. What this 500 to 1000 means is about 500 to 1000 people applied to University of Lagos for economics. So this information is important because it's telling you that if you are selecting Unilag and you want to study economics in Unilag, you should be expecting about 500 to 1000 applicants competing for that same slot. Now, if you are the type that you don't want that huge competition, you can look at other schools with lower numbers. For example, Afe Babalola University had about 0 to 50 applicants last year. Then, if you look at other schools, there are other schools with smaller numbers, especially private schools. But there are also state schools that have less, like Akwa Ibom State University had between 50 to 100 applicants. Now, why this information is important is the number of applicants will determine your chance of getting admission. Even though we have about close to 2 million or about 2 million people sitting for JAM, what matters for you is the number of people competing for that slot in the school you selected. Because if about 50 people apply for a given course in a school, it means they're going to select from that pool of students, from that pool of candidates, right? Most likely that's what they'll focus on. So what that means is you have lesser competition compared to a school where about 1000 people applied for that course. So that's one information that is very important for you to take note of. Now, the second information is the requirements. So, what are the requirements? Why this is important is you don't want to apply to a school and eventually, after getting admission or getting or having a good jam score, you now realize that your O level result doesn't match the requirements. So let's take a look at the requirements for economics for Unilag. Now, one thing you should note is most of the time the requirement they are not the same for all schools. Some school may have specific requirements, although there's a general requirement and there's a school requirement. So let's take a look at this for Unilag. Now, what this means is if you want to study economics in Unilag, this is the requirement that you need to meet. The first is the UTME subject combination. So you can pick any of English, economics, mathematics, and one other social science or commercial subject. So this is the general requirement. English, economics, math, three compulsory subjects. Then you need one other social science or commercial subject. That's for your JAM combination. Then for your O level, that's your WAEC or NECO result. you need to have 5 credit passes, which must include English, maths, economics, then one science subject or one other social science or commercial subject. Now, what I just these two requirements I just mentioned, they are the general requirement for all schools. But there are times that each school will now give you their own specific requirement. That is, aside the generic one, this is now what UNILAG want for their own candidate. Now, look at it. Lagos accept English language, mathematics, economics, and any two of art, social science, and science. That means Lagos accept for their O level, right? Because this O level result, they accept English, math, economics, and any two of art. So that means they consider arts, not just science and social science. Which means if you have maybe literature or you have CRK, you can you and together with math, English, and economics, you are good to go, right? So what that means is art is considered, but if you check the general requirement, there's no art, but UNILAG allows you to have art, any two of art, social science, or science. So these are some of the things that you need to pay attention to. But if you check the second item, they said UNILAG requires maths, English, and any arts, science, or social science. So this second requirement is referring to your UTME subject combination. You know, English is constant, right? Now, aside English, you need maths and economics for your subject combination. They now said any, so the fourth subject could be any art, science, or social science, but they do not accept commerce. So commerce is not allowed as part of your subject combination. So this is very important because if you choose commerce and you want to go study economics in UNILAG, you may be rejected. So that's the reason why you need to read the requirements before selecting your subject combination. Very important. Now, then the other requirements are for direct entry. So I'm not talking about direct entry at the moment. Okay, then the next thing you need to take note of is what they call catchment area. So catchment areas, they are like states that will be given special consideration during admission. So when your state is under this, when if your state is part of these catchment areas, what this means is your cutoff mark will be lower than the general cutoff mark. So what that means is, let's say the general cutoff mark is 65 points. That is, you need to have 65 points to gain admission, right? If you are part of Ekiti, Lagos, Osun, or your Ondo or Ogun State, you are going to be considered specially. What that means is your cutoff mark may be 63, 62, or 60, which means you have a better chance than people that are outside that state. So why it's important is if you're the type that you are looking for a school that has your state as a catchment area, you need to check the catchment area so that you get a favorable cutoff mark. So these are some of the key information that you need to take note of. Okay, now we've talked about requirements. So the next is how competitive is that course. Now, competitiveness is key because if you even if your cutoff mark is relatively low because of your catchment, it may still be too high because there may be so many people within that catchment area, right? Now let's take a look at UNILAG again and let's look at the competitiveness. So now this information tells you how competitive that course is for that particular school. Now for UNILAG, here's an information you need to take note of. The first thing is the people that applied for that course, the range of their score. So this data is one of the data that you need to pay attention to. This data tells you that the top 100 candidates that applied to UNILAG last year, their score is within the range of 279 to 354. So what that means is if you take the top 100 people that applied to UNILAG economics, their score range is 279 to 354. And that's competitive. So if you're the type that you cannot guarantee to score 380 and above, your chance of gaining admission is low because the people applying to this course, they have high score. So you should aim at nothing less than 280 to have a chance to even score to get admission into UNILAG for economics. Now, if you are the type that you know you are not strong enough to withstand that competition, you can scroll down to other schools. There are schools that the number of the competitive level is low. So look at this University of Uyo Economics, right? The top 100 scored between 210 and 309. So this is relatively less competitive. Then let's go to other schools. So let's say Imo State University. So Imo State University, the range for the top 100 is 205 to 286. So you can see that there are schools that are less competitive than others. So you can use this information to decide whether you want to go to that school or not. So just to recap, the first information you should take note of is the requirement. What's the subject combination for UTME? What's the O level requirement? And don't look at the general requirement alone. Also look at the school specific requirement. Then the next thing is the school is your state part of the school's catchment area? If yes, that means you have an additional advantage. Then the next thing you check is how competitive is that school. A school that is very competitive means you need to work harder, you need to aim at higher score to have a chance to gain admission. So these are the key information you need to pay attention to. Okay, so now let's take a look at let's take a look at other information. Yeah, so I'm going to backtrack, then I'm going to choose another course. Let's go to medicine and surgery. So why I'm choosing medicine and surgery is this is a very competitive course, and for those of you studying medicine, it's very important you pay attention to this and you check this app before you fill that JAMB form. It's very important. So for medicine and surgery, it's extremely competitive. Mind you, the way we rank this school, we rank them based on their level, on their competitive level, right? Now, the highest from what we have this year is University of Ibadan. What this means is over 5,000 people applied to University of Ibadan and that want to study medicine and surgery. And if you check the competitive level, you will see that the top 100 of those students that applied for medicine and surgery, their score in JAM is between 342 and 364. So that is extremely competitive. So if you want to study medicine and surgery and you want to choose University of Ibadan, you should be aiming at nothing less than 350 to have a chance, because these top 100 people, not they may not even all the top 100 may not even gain admission, because some of these schools don't take up to 100, right? So what that means is if you are not among the top 100, your chance is even much lower, right? So what that means is you really need to work hard to have a chance to gain admission here. And if you check Unilag is also very competitive. The score range is 337 to 364. And if you go down, the list drops. But most of the top 7 schools or the top 10 schools, they have over 5,000 applicants. Imagine. So in a school where they may choose less, they may admit less than 100 candidates. You have over 5,000 applicants. So that's very important for those of you aiming at studying medicine and surgery. So these are some of the schools offering medicine and surgery and their level of competitiveness. Okay, I'm going to also go into engineering for those, so that, or law. Let me choose law. For those of you studying law, you can see that UNILAG is at the very top. About 2,000 to 5,000 applicants selected UNILAG last year and they want to study law. If you check the requirements, you will see that this is the subject combination, this is the O-level requirement, and other special requirements. So I wouldn't want to go into all of that. But let's look at the competitive level. You see that the range of score of those top 100, they are 305, 302 to 327. So that's very competitive. So these are some of the key information you need to take note before you fill the JAM form. It's not just all about, oh, I want to study law, I want to study medicine. The question is, are you ready to face the heat? Are you ready to go the extra mile to score a very high score? I'm not saying you can't. You can beat the score. You can score as high as 370, 360. We've got a lot of candidates that performed well last year, and a lot of them scored over 350, a lot of them scored over 340. But the point I'm stressing here is know the challenge ahead of you. Prepare for that challenge. Don't just choose a course blindly. know the challenge, prepare towards it, and beat that challenge. Okay, now let's take a look at medicine. The guy that got the highest score last year, he went for mechanical engineering. So let's see mechanical engineering for Unilag. So let me go to mechanical engineering. So let's see if we have that score range. So yeah, that's correct. So the guy with the highest jam score last year got 375. So for Unilag, the range of the top 100 is between 296 to 350 to 375. So these are some of the key information you need to take note of before you fill the jam form. Now, all of what I've showed you so far, they are under universities. So if you want to know the subject, the schools offering courses in Polytechnic, you can switch to Polytechnics and you can choose any course that you want to choose and check all the Polytechnics offering those courses. You understand? So you can do the same thing for College of Education and Innovation and Entrepreneurship Institution. So we wish you all the best in your exam this year, and I hope and plan for you students this year is that you beat the best score last year, and we hope to see some of you scoring 380 this year.